Alright guys, I've been getting a lot of questions about pack setup and how I'm set up my pack. Realize that depending on mission, what you're doing and that type of thing, everyone's going to set up their packs different. Everybody's going to have a different pack and different things that they put into their pack based on necessities. But I thought I'd give you a little primer on pack setup based on what I do and my experiences. My experience with packs is for the last 3 years, I've been rucking with anywhere from a 45 pound all the way up to a 100 pound pack, from anywhere ranging from 4 to 5 miles a day up to 10 plus 14 miles per day for a couple of weeks in a row. Prior to that, I just have experience backpacking just around the US and that type of thing. But my military career, as far as rucking is concerned, is extensive. So I thought I'd pass on some of that knowledge to you guys. When it comes to setting up our packs and that type of thing, I have a couple philosophies, just like I do with everything else. So again, lighter is better, right? The less things that we have in our pack is going to be better because we're going to have less strain on our back. The more strain we have on our back, the more weight we put on there is going to lead to decreased ability of us to perform whatever task that we need to perform when we get to wherever we're going. So we're carrying a ruck for a reason, right? We have that stuff with us for a reason. So the more strain we are, less good you're going to be at doing that thing once you get there. So what drives me and how I pack my pack is I go through 3 things. So first off, what's my mission, right? And that's going to drive what type of pack I'm going to select, how many provisions I need to carry, and that type of thing. So in this case, we're going to be talking about long range, no resupply. So you might consider that recce, like reconnoitering type deal, or it might be a survival / bugging out type deal. We'll kind of combine those two together. So that's going to be defined as we're not expecting a firefight. We're prepared for one, but we're not expecting one. So we're going to have a lighter loadout, hence the survival chest rig. And we're going to kind of base everything right around that. So first off, what's my mission type? And then second thing is going to be gear to keep me alive. And then the one after that is going to be gear for my mission. So it's going to be mission critical gear. So first off, when we're talking about gear to keep us alive, that's going to be dependent on the environment. So whether that be a cold environment, a hot environment, that type of thing, that's what I'm talking about. So mostly survival type situations and weather type considerations. Now when it comes to mission critical gear, that's talking about like mags, ammo, grenades, smoke grenades, whatever you want to carry with you, or if you're doing some type of reconnoitering, having binocs, that type of thing. So we're not going to delve too much into mission critical gear for this particular video because, again, your mission is going to be, who knows, right? You might be reconnoitering your mom's refrigerator to get some food from the basement, whatever. Point is that there's just a whole gamut of things that you could have. And I'm kind of doing this more from a kind of civilian perspective for you guys, because if you're military, this can maybe help you as far as ideas for different types of products, but in reality, you're probably going to have SOPs that are going to dictate what type of things you need to carry with you in the first place. And you're going to have guys who have done this for years and years, and they're going to have some ideas on what they're doing based on that career that you do. So again, just kind of roll with it, guys. If you have good ideas, let me know. If you totally disagree with you, or if you don't understand why I'm doing something, please feel free to comment. I'm always happy to answer your questions. So how this is going to go, guys, is I'm going to go through the equipment that I carry to keep me alive based on a kind of spring, summer type environment. So expecting rain, not going to be getting too cold, that type of deal. So with those things in mind, I'll go through some of the things that I use that can keep me alive pretty much indefinitely, combined with the skills that I have. So again, just like we've talked about everything before, if you have good gear but no good skills, you're still going to die. So make sure you have good skills too and look cool. All right, so how I'm going to do this, guys, is I'm going to start with my ruck. So the ruck that I'm going to be packing for you today is going to be the XO Mountain Pack. I chose the XO Mountain Pack because I keep going back to it, to be honest. I've tried pretty much every ruck you can imagine. Kelty, Mystery Ranch, Hill People Gear. Mystery Ranch and Hill People Gear are excellent military backpack manufacturers. I'm sure you guys have seen others out there. There's First Spear makes packs. But in this case, we're going to be going for XO Pack, because we're going to be going for approximately a week-long venture out and kind of the tools and kit necessary to survive for that long. This particular one is 3,500 cubic inches, which equals about, I think, 57 liters, somewhere around there, maybe plus or minus. Some people will say, I think that's way too small, like to carry like a 5,500 cubic inch ruck, something like that. And again, I used to carry a huge one like that, but what changed my mind is that I realized I could live on a lot less. I looked at what I was using day to day and what I didn't use, and I realized that there's a lot of excess. So I've cut down on what I carry quite a bit from when I first started doing what I do. And you guys will too. You know, the first time I went out, I brought everything I was freaking issued, and I had like a 80-pound ruck, and it sucked. I mean, you could do 80-pound rucks. I've done 100-pound rucks, and I've done that for, you know, 14 miles per day for a couple weeks on end, and it sucked, and it was stupid, and my body was aching. I had sores all over, so there's no point in doing it. A lot of guys will say, hey, if you can't, you know, ruck a 75-pound ruck, you know, XYZ distance for XYZ days, and you suck. Yeah, well, we can all do it, but there's no point to do it if you don't have to. You don't need to keep adding weight until your pack gets heavy, so keep light packs. Anyhow, Exo Mountain Pack, it's good. It's not waterproof, so you will need a ruck cover with that. So the first thing that I always have with me on my rucks is I have some type of ruck cover. So the ruck cover I have here is well used. It's kind of trash, that type of thing. It's in woodland because it's the best camo ever invented. It's not, but it's cool. Anyhow, it's cheap. I prefer the ones that are elastic. I used to have one that had like a little retention band that you'd pull, but it was just a hassle. So I always go for the elastic ones. What's good about these is they're going to keep your gear nice and dry inside your pack because your pack's not going to get wet. What's also good about it is at night you go to sleep and you keep your ruck out. All that dew is going to get on it. It's going to get nice and wet. So I like to have this over my pack at night as well. So lots of good things. You don't always have to have it on your pack. If you have a pack that's not camouflage, I would recommend keeping one of these on, because if you're doing something that requires you not to be seen, probably want to make sure that pack is nice and camouflaged. In any case, I always keep this on my ruck, and I keep it somewhere that's nice and accessible in case it starts raining. That way my gear doesn't get wet. In the case of me, I like to keep it in this little left-hand pocket, right-hand pocket on my ruck, because that's what works for me. But again, it's going to be different for everybody. So that's the first thing I always have in my ruck. Now, when it comes to our main compartment, it gets a little tricky. On the Exo Pack, it has a nice little zipper that's going down the side right here. That allows me to access anything within the pack. It's something that I'd recommend looking for if you're looking for a pack for multi-day use. If you don't have this, you're going to have to really dig in there, and that's going to suck. So because of this, I'm able to pack mine a little bit differently. But in any case, you're going to want things that you use frequently on the top or accessible from pockets, and things you're not going to use quite as frequently at the bottom. So one of the things I'm not going to be using quite as much is going to be my sleeping bag. So I have here some super high-speed AVSOC designed sleeping bag that they issued us, and it's super cool. And you can like get into it in full gear and then like rip out at a moment's notice. It's pretty sick. But the point is that you have a sleeping bag that's compressible. You have a nice little stuff sack for it, and that is rated at the temperature you need it to be rated at. So in the summer, I have this sleeping bag, which is rated down to about, I think, 25 degrees or so. But if I'm sleeping in the Arctic, I'm not going to take this thing because I would die. So make sure you have a multi-tiered layering system for your sleeping bag in that case. If you choose to have a bivy is a waterproof cover that can go over your sleeping bag. I typically carry those when it's pretty bad weather, especially in the Arctic. But with those, make sure that when you put them on and you sleep at night, you zip it down at least halfway, because otherwise it's going to trap all the moisture in your body and you're going to end up sweaty during the night. If you're a heavy sweater, for my heavy sweaters out there, me, then you're going to freeze to death. So make sure if you use a bivy, zip it down halfway. Sleeping bag for me is zipped up all the way. I sleep in usually just Sophie's and a t-shirt. Back to the Sophie's again. So in any case, have a good sleeping bag. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put that to the bottom of my ruck. In the case of my ruck, it's going to fit a little lopsided, and we're going to fill that in with a couple different things. So, because my zipper is on the right side, excuse me, the left side, and looking at it thinking I'm not facing it, I'm going to pack my next item on the left side so I can get to it easier when I unzip the zipper. That item is going to be Gore-Tex. So Gore-Tex is vitally important to have in your ruck. That goes for just a change of clothes. So I like to say you should have at least one full change of clothes. So wrapped up in my Gore-Tex pants right here, I have a t-shirt, socks, and some Sophies. So with this, if I were to, get my clothes got shredded for whatever reason, or they got wet and I was starting to go hypothermic, I could change my clothes, get dry these clothes off with fire, or do whatever. That way I can survive. I use the Gore-Tex instead of a different just, combat shirt and stuff. That way, if it starts raining, I can put it on. That way I don't go hypothermic, die, and that type of thing. You can still go hypothermic in fairly nice weather. It can be 50 degrees out, 60, 70 degrees, and start raining, wind chill, all that stuff. You start going hypothermic and pass away, all because you didn't have a good weather layer. So make sure you have a weather layer. So either change your clothes or weather layer. I prefer to use weather layer, and that's what I would recommend. So that's the next item that I'll be packing in. Now there's a couple different methods for packing your ruck. You can either do the nice folding method, which is what a lot of OCD guys do. I'm OCD, however, I'm a messy OCD, so I prefer the stuff method, which works just as well. Another thing to think about when you're packing your ruck is weight. You want to keep lighter things in the bottom, heavy things at the top, while at the same time thinking about what things you need to access based on your mission and what you're doing, that type of thing. So it's kind of a balancing act. There's no perfect way to pack a ruck, but as you do things, you're going to find out what works for you and what doesn't. So play with it, go out into the woods, actually use your gear, like I've been saying before, and you'll find out what works for you. All right, so next item, there's a couple here, but I'll kind of explain kind of my thought process behind this. So it's going to be a shelter piece. So we need some type of shelter piece so that we can have a shelter so that we don't die during the night when we have to hole up, whether that be, we're bugging out because, Mad Max is happening and we need to hide from Immortan Joe or whatever. And so you have your little poncho, and it's all camouflage, you hide under that or whatever, and you sleep for the night, and it keeps you dry and all that type of stuff. Or, whether that be you're no crap lost in the woods on a backpacking excursion, which is more likely, and especially if you're a lieutenant, and you need to signal recovery. So there's going to be two different things there, right? Either you need to be found or you need to be hidden. So we'll talk about both of those. If you need to be hidden, one of my favorite go-tos is a standard little poncho. So with this, make sure you have lines. So that means 550 cord. I'd recommend 20 lines of 15 foot and then 20 lines of 5 foot. And then you can daisy chain those all together. I always keep those in my pack. It's just something I never not have because there's so many things you can do with lines. Anyhow, poncho can be used obviously over you to not get wet, similar to the Gore-Tex layer. You can double up if it's just awful weather. Or you can also make this into a Ranger Diamond, a bunch of different types of shelters that are excellent to keep you out of the cold. So poncho, really good for not being detected. So I'll go ahead and pack that in because that's almost what I usually carry. Now, if you do need to be found, what I have right here is a high visibility piece of material. In this case, this was cut from an 8-gore parachute from a C9 canopy, which is an emergency canopy used by aviators and many of the militaries throughout the world today. I cut out the orange because I'm able to more easily be seen if I need to be seen. So there's a bunch of different products out here that can do this, but essentially if you find some type of tarp that's brightly colored and that can signal that you're there, it's excellent because it can do two things. It can, one, provide shelter, and then two, signal aircraft so you can get home, all that good stuff. So again, figure out what your mission is. You might have a combination of the two. Maybe you need both. Just figure out what works for you. So signal panel, excellent stuff. If you're looking to go a little bit lower weight, you can also go for what's called the VS17 panel. That can be used as a signaling device, however, it's not big enough to make it into a shelter. Again, just depends on what you're doing. For my military guys, VS17 panels have different uses, but nonetheless. Another option that you have is a straight up tarp. This one is from Kelty, and it is called Noah's tarp. It's clever. It's really clever. They come in a couple different sizes. This one is the 9 foot by 9 foot, and I will tell you it is large enough to house you and a friend. So if you're not forever alone and you have a girl or a boy or whatever you're into, you can take them out, sleep under the stars with this. Pretty nice. It's not specifically camouflage, this one. Has a little orange on the side. It's kind of a mixture. This would be for civilian use, just kind of, you're not looking to be seen, you're not looking to be to hide, you're just kind of looking to blend in with nature a little bit. So again, tarps are great. Lots of good uses with these tarps, but in any case, I prefer the poncho. I prefer to be miserable at night, so poncho it is. Next thing we're gonna be going into is I typically pack extra food at this point. So I get a lot of questions. Hey, you know, what should I pack? Like I watched a guy his first time. He brought like we were going out for a week, and he brought, what was it, like 6 bags of bagels? I mean, yeah, it's calories. I know, no doubt it's calories, but like, holy crap, you can condense that. You know, buy things that are compact and easy to get to. So one thing that I like to do is I like to take like peanut butter, especially during the summer months, and you add in natural peanut butter, by the way. You don't want any of those bad fats. So natural peanut butter, add in like dried fruit into it, maybe a little protein powder if you want to get those gains. Otherwise, you can add a whole slew of different things. You make a little mixture. You can also add sugar to it or cocoa or whatever and make it taste delicious. But the point is that it's compact, it offers a lot of calories, and it's not a whole lot of weight for me to carry, and it can last me a couple days. If I carry a couple of those, it weighs a lot less than carrying, you know, a bunch of bagels. And while they might weigh about the same, the space they take up is going to be way less. So think about that when it comes to packing food. However, during the winter, that peanut butter will become rock hard. So usually I move over to trail mix at that time during the winter. That way I don't have to deal with that stuff, you know, getting all solid and I can't get to it and that type of stuff. So find something that's going to meet your nutritional needs. Variety is always best. If you can mix all together, all the better. Add some spinach powder to it. But basically just find something that's going to give you these calories that you need so that you can travel a long distance. Remember, you're going to burn a lot more calories out in the field. At home, I'm eating maybe 3,000, maybe 4,000 calories a day, but out in the field, I can get up to 6, 7, maybe even 8,000 calories based on how far I'm moving with that ruck. Because I'm constantly moving, I'm constantly chopping wood, doing whatever, you're gonna burn a lot more calories. So take that into account too. Make sure you carry enough food with you. Also, what it comes down to is in a straight, you know, survival situation, you really don't need food. So you can actually carry a little less. Some of you can maybe stand to lose some weight. I don't know, everybody can. So if you don't need the food, don't carry it, right? You can go a solid 3 weeks without food. I'll tell you from experience that 1 week without food and you're feeling pretty down on yourself, but you can do it. Now what you can't live without is water. Damn, that was a good transition. So when it comes to water, I typically carry the MSR water bag. This is what I was issued when I first started going through training, which was heinous. But in any case, this is a 3-liter bag. It's not full at all. I just got back from the woods not too long ago. But carry a lot of water. I prefer to have this 3-liter bag because I find that it typically will last me a day. Maybe less, maybe a little bit more, depending on temperature and how much I'm working and that type of thing. But you should be drinking a lot of water in the field because you're going to be just crushing just calories and moving and that type of thing, sweating more than you're used to sitting in your parents' basement, that type of thing. So make sure that you drink a lot of water. If you notice on this particular bag, the tube is all yellow, and that's from being stained from iodine. Iodine is my go-to purification method when it comes to field life in a, what would you call it, non-permissive environment. So one where maybe I was planning on running into somebody who didn't like me so much. And the reason for that is it's very light. It's very easy to carry around those iodine tablets. I can purify my water anywhere. So it's not the best method, but compare that to, say, a filter. So a filter is really good. Removes a lot of particulate matter and makes your water taste really delicious. However, those things don't really pump that water out very fast. So if I had to fill a 3-liter bag up with water, think about how long that filter is going to take to fill up that bag. Quite a while. And everybody needs water, and you're at a water source just sitting there pumping, and you don't want to be seen. So connect the dots on that. Just iodine works easier. Just dip that bag in, fill it up, go back to wherever you're hiding, pop those iodine tablets in, boom, purified water. When it comes to different types of bags, I prefer the MSR bag. I've never had any problems with it. A lot of guys are really into those platypus bags right now, or the Source tactical bags. I think those are made in Israel. They're good, but I've seen them burst a lot. I've never had my MSR bag burst, and that's because it's pretty heavy construction, some type of cloth type material with an inner liner and all that deal. So it does weigh more than some of those other bags, but at the same time, I have full faith in this thing. And if it does get a little pinprick in it, it's very easy to repair. If you have, you should have shoe goo with you. Always have shoe goo. You can use it as a tinder, or you can repair things with it. So shoe goo is like a gel that will harden once it hits the air. So you can take a little bit of that shoe shoe glue smeared onto the hole, and it will stop and it'll plug a leak, and it works indefinitely from what I've seen. I plugged a couple holes on this one from when idiots have punctured it accidentally that I've worked with. In any case, it works really well. So make sure you have shoe glue with you. Make sure you get a good bag. Make sure you have some contingency plans in place. So that one's always going to go at the top of my ruck. Before we get to that, the best method to purify water is boiling. And one way we can boil water is with a jet boil. So there are a bunch of different ones out there. This one is the MSR stove. I couldn't tell you the exact name. It was issued to me forever ago, and I never really cared to learn the name, but it's a great little system. So basically what it is it's a small stove that can be attached to a fuel source, such as a butane fuel canister. These are very cheap. As you screw them together, they can be easily lit with a match, lighter, or with some type of metal match. All of those work. Once it lights, it puts out a lot of heat. You take your little canister right here, put it on top, and it will boil water quite quickly. Each of these work different. It has to have oxygen that gets to it, so make sure that you get one that has the correct adapter, because if it sits so low that it smothers it out, that's not going to work. Worst comes to worst, what I've done with these sometimes is I'll dig a pit, put it in there, put some sticks across, that way it supports this over there. That way I can get it boiling at the same time if you don't have the adapter. In any case, make sure you have one of these. I'll tell you why. So one, you can boil water, purify water if needed. It's not really my concern. What it's really good at is getting you warm really quickly. So if you feel like you're about to die, and building a fire makes a whole lot of light and a good way to get yourself seen. If you take one of these, light it, and cover yourself with a poncho, that will keep you extremely warm. It'll trap all the heat in there, and it could possibly prevent you from dying. So a quick little tip, I've used it a couple times. It works incredibly well. So that's one reason I love the jet boil. Also a great way to cook food or do whatever you need to do. But in any case, if that fails, you can always just boil water. And so it serves the dual purpose of being the jet boil, and also I can use this in place of a canteen cup, which is excellent as well. And I can boil a bunch of water in here and get purified water in that way. So I always keep this with me. I pack that in my pack. Now to boil water, you need tinder. So I always have some type of tinder with me. In this case, the tinder that I typically use is cotton balls and Vaseline. So you just take a bunch of cotton balls, put a bunch of huge slabs of Vaseline in there, and just spend, the entire time you're sitting there watching anime or whatever you do, and you work all the Vaseline into the cotton balls. And once you're ready to light them, just pull them apart so they're nice and airy, and they'll light and they'll burn and they'll get a fire going for you. Again, you're gonna have to add dry wood and all that other stuff, but it works pretty well. So I always keep tinder with me. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my water bag, which is typically gonna be filled with 3 liters of water. I'm gonna put it at the top of my bag. So my main compartment is now filled. I'm going to start moving to the secondary compartments. Now I have a whole lot of room in here. I can still add mission essential gear, such as more ammunition, grenades. Grenades are a big one. Smoke grenade, thermite, whatever you want to freaking throw in there. Mission dependent, right? Binocs is a huge one. Binocs are probably going to be something you're going to want to get to a little quicker, and we'll talk about that. So on the side right here, I put my tinder, because I like to have that easily accessible. It's one of the things I put right there. Let's start going into some of the things I need to get to a little more. I need to get to more often, and I'm going to put those in the outside pockets. So if you've ever seen The Rock, it's a great movie with Nicolas Cage. At the end of the movie, he is running outside of the Alcatraz, because he stopped the chemical weapon from going off. And, sorry, I love this story. And the F-18s are flying towards him, and the signal to make them stop was the signal flare, the 2. He's got them. I think they're green. I don't know why. But he doesn't stop the F-18s in time. They bomb him, but he survives. In any case, a road flare is a great thing to have, and typically they are red. I don't know of any that are green. I'm sure they're out there. But road flares are good for a couple of reasons. One, signaling, right? If you're a military guy, this is one way to signal for recovery. If you're a civilian, this is one way to signal for recovery. Say you see a helicopter flying over there, you don't know how to signal this guy, you've got nothing on you but a road flare. At night, that's going to be pretty bright. Hey, even during the day, that's not too hard to see. Or you could start a forest fire with it. Don't do that. But they can start fires as well. So a signal flare is a great little thing to have on you. I typically carry 2. I just recently used one, so I'm down to 1, so I need to restock. So I take this, and I always put it on the side of my pouch, because it is something that I want to be able to get to more quickly based on the situation. So different things to think about. What we have here is something that I'm going to add to the outside of my pack. So we got my axe right here. This is a Husqvarna carpenter's axe. So a lot of you are saying, why in the hell would you have an axe? Well, I can tell you there's quite a few reasons. But especially in a survival type situation, guys, this thing is going to be invaluable. You can start civilization with this thing right here. The reason I use the carpenter's axe, and again, I have I probably don't have as much axe experience as a lot of people out there, but you can consider me somewhat of a highly paid lumberjack in the military. I have my axe work experience for the last 3 years. I felled probably on average about 4 to 5 trees a month minimum, maybe a little bit more. In any case, I've dropped a lot of trees. I've cut a lot of trees up, bolted a lot of trees up. So the reason I went with a shorter axe, which is typically not advised, is because it's easier to carry in my pack, and that's it. It is more unwieldy. You have to be better with it. You have to squat lower, so you have to get a little bit more power behind it. But at the same time, it's easier to carry. It works just as well. You got to work a little bit harder with it. So that's one reason I went with this type of axe. If you're a little bit less experienced, I'd recommend going to something like a actual wood felling axe, such as this bad boy from Husqvarna. Great little axe. Actually, I haven't used it because I love my carpenter's axe so much. But again, has a much longer handle length and a smaller head, and it's going to drive into that tree, chops wood like a beast. But I prefer the larger head, and because it's easier to carry with the carpenters. So again, that's up to you. So we have my axe. This sheath, the sheath that they come with does not last very well or long. So you will typically have to replace that after a short amount of time. So I made this particular sheath right here. It's pretty easy to make. Just sew down the edges, have a little welt right there, and it will keep the axe head from separating and coming out. So usually I attach that to the side of my pack. There's a lot of different options. Some guys like to put it between the frame and the bag itself. Just whatever works. Besides that, in my pack I have those line kits I was talking about, 550, 20 lines of long, 20 lines of short, so long being 20 feet, long being 15 feet, and short being 5 feet. So I always have those on me. Once we've gotten to the point we're at, guys, this pack is almost completely packed. Now what I need to do is fill the top pouch right here, which is the claymore pouch. Claymore pouch. So things I put in the claymore pouch are things I need to be able to get to really accessibly. It's this little pouch at the top. I don't have to undo the pack to get to it. It's this little zipper at the back. It's really easy to get to. So things I typically put in here are, number 1, baby wipes. You don't want to dig through your pack for those. So baby wipes, always have them. Spoon, incredibly important. Mine's really dirty right now, so I just got back. Spoon's always important. It's REI, good stuff. I have mission essential gear. So this is specifically documentation for different types of missions that I'm doing, or topo maps. So speaking of topo maps, I have them right here. Make sure with any of your maps that you have them done on some type of write in the rain paper. So I had this one printed out for me on write in the rain paper. That way, if it gets wet, it doesn't get destroyed. If it does, if it's not in write in the rain paper, make sure that it's in some type of laminated folder of some type, or sheet protector of some type. That way, the water's not going to get to it and destroy it. I always keep iodine at the very top. Iodine's always important. I have many things of iodine, but make sure you have one that's accessible, right? So I have this one right here. Now the great thing about iodine, these little tablets right here, is if you forget what to do, you can just peel this open, and it has some directions there, and you can read them and figure out what you need to do. Unless you're in the Army and you open it up and you look at it and you say, damn, I wish I could read. So, always iodine. Gloves, always needed. I usually have 2 pairs of gloves with me. I have one for tactical usage, and I have one just for general woods usage. So my so-called woods usage gloves, I typically just have right in the top of my Claymore pouch right here. Next thing I have is I carry 3 extra mags on the top of the Claymore. This way I can get to them as needed. So again, we're not specifically expecting an engagement, but with what I have on me and what I have in my pack, right there I have a full contingency. Now, depending on the type of mission, I'm probably going to carry more magazines or ammo inside the ruck itself. As far as, do you want to keep the ammo in boxes or do you want to keep it on magazines, that's up to you. Just realize that reloading magazines while being shot at is going to be disconcerting. So at the same time, magazines add weight. So figure out kind of where that balance is for you, but make sure that you can get those mags as necessary. Again, it's all going to be mission dependent, right? If you're hiking in, some national park, probably not such a big deal as far as carrying a bunch of ammo. Now, Sierra Nevadas, yeah, I'd carry a bunch. Just dirty people out there. I can't. All right. So now that we have our ruck for the most part packed, let's talk about fitment. So, I'm a big fan of this Exo mountain pad, guys. I'm not trying to sell this thing right now to you, but man, they make some good stuff. Good guy, based out of Idaho. Can't go wrong with this pack, honestly. So let's go ahead and get it on, talk about it. All right, so first thing I do when I'm getting my pack on, I go ahead and I lean forward, cinch down those straps. Once I've cinched those down, I'm going to do the waist belt. So most people actually don't know where the waist are. Their waist is because they're so used to sagging their pants. That's unfortunate. So I'm going to show you where your waist is. It's actually on top of your hips. It's amazing. But for most people, me included, my kidney pad sits a little bit above my my belt line. So we'll talk about that and why that's bad. Here's my belt line. I'm going to get this nice and tightened down. Now, with these kidney pads, the reason you want to get them up on your hips is because it will take that weight off your shoulders. Because I'll tell you what, having 45 pounds on your shoulders is miserable. Now, a couple things to note with my kidney straps is I have a little gear on them. So again, I don't wear any gear on my pants when I'm doing any type of reconnoitering, survival type deal, because again, the kidney pads will press that into your hips. And what will happen is over a couple of days of time, you'll develop little sores, they'll get infected, then you'll die. So don't do it. Now, that can also happen with position of your kidney pads with your belt, because your kidney pads may begin to press your belt into your hip and you can get sores from that. So make sure that you adjust it properly so that it's not doing that, because if you get sores out there, especially in a nice dirty environment like the one you'll typically be in, it's going to suck. Another quick tip before we move on is when I'm doing any type of reconnoitering work, I move over to Crye field pants. If you notice, they have internal knee pads, and the reason for that is the Crye combats, those external knee pads have a tendency to snag on bushes and get ripped out, and that creates noise and also damages your pants. Now, you can tuck in the knee pads, but I prefer just to use the Crye fields because they have internal knee pads and they work just as well for me. Now, on the side of my kidney pad right here, I have an IFAK. Now, like we've talked about in the past, hemostatic agents, quick clot, that kind of deal, chest seals, all that good stuff. Of course, tourniquets. I don't carry quite as many tourniquets as I do on my combat loadout, but I still carry quite a few. So I also have another IFAK in my pocket right here, which I don't have in right now. And then if I turn to my right, I have a general purpose pouch. In this pouch, I carry more iodine. I also carry camouflage paint, some nitrile gloves for different uses, and batteries for all of my equipment. I also have extra spare batteries in my ruck as well, and also on my rig right here. A couple notes for you guys. When it comes to your rucks, make sure that you are wearing them nice and high. Now, there is a time to wear backpacks low, and that's when you're trying to look cool. I know. Try to look cool all the time, but especially if you're traveling, it's okay to not look cool. So make sure your pack's high. Cinch those straps up, get that kidney pad right up in your waist. And especially if you're traveling uphill or level flat ground, up high is better. If you're going downhill, uneven terrain, lower that pack down a little bit. Let it sag a little bit more. You don't need to do a whole lot. And that will bring your center of gravity a little bit lower and make it a little bit easier to travel. So a couple different things as far as that's concerned. There are two different types of packs that you typically see out there. You have internal frame, like what I have right here. You have external frame, and you have some weird types of hybrids out there. So external frames, those are things like your Alice packs, things that everybody uses. Now, I humped an Alice pack for a solid year and a half, so I'm very familiar with it. It's a great pack. It's very tough. It's very moddable. You can do a lot of cool things to it. It's just not the most comfortable thing in the world. So if you're willing to spend a little bit more money on a nicer pack, the ones I've mentioned before, Hill People Gear, Mystery Ranch, Exo Mountain Pack, those are all great packs to look at, and I'm sure there's other great ones out there, and I don't mean to snub any particular manufacturers. I just haven't used every pack in the world because I don't have enough time in my day. In any case, guys, pack what you need, pack light, make sure you pack enough to survive, right? That's number one, make sure you can survive, and then two, mission essential gear. So mission essential gear is going to change based on your environment. Guys, I hope you learned something. I can talk about this topic for hours and hours and hours and probably days, but I don't want this video to go over 30 minutes. So in the interest of time, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna cut it short. Tell me what you want to hear about next time, whether that be day patrol packs or XYZ, or, you know, hey, what if I'm jumping into the Congo? What do I wear then? It's actually a good video. So ask me what sounds good to you. Insult me, that's okay too. And no matter what, look cool.